FlossTube, this is Jordan. Welcome to my channel. This is Stitching Espresso. This is FlossTube number 5 and today is November 16th, 2025. I know I've had some new subscribers since my last video, so thank you for joining and I hope that you continue to like what you see, and thank you for everybody who has already subscribed. It's amazing to see that number continue to increase over time, even though I know my videos are less frequent and more sporadic in regards to their release times. So thank you all for coming and seeing what I've been stitching on. So hopefully this video will be a little bit shorter than my previous videos, just because I haven't been working on as many different projects this time because of the way that I've been stitching, which has actually been a lot of fun. And we'll talk more about that in detail as we get into it. Also, I apologize if my voice sounds a little bit hoarse or raspy. I have been dealing with some sinus issues recently. I think here in Kansas, the weather has been seasonably warm the past couple of weeks, whereas like 2 weeks ago, it was really cold. And so I think with this weather change, and then I was also working around the house and stirred up some dust. And so I think that kind of combined has led to a lot of gunk up here. So I'm not sick, there's no infection or anything, it's just I've got a lot of drainage and so that's impacting my voice. So I apologize for that. I do have a couple of different beverages here, want my tea from lunch as well as some water, so sorry if you see me drinking those periodically just to keep everything nice and moist. And I know some people don't like that word, apologies, just to keep everything not dried out, let's put it that way. Okay, so moving on. So we'll start the video with finishes because, shocker, I actually have multiple. And a lot of that has to do with how I've been stitching. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I've been doing the Great British Baking Show Cross Stitch Challenge that Jessie Marie of Jessie Marie Does Stuff started last year, I believe. And she's not really focusing on that anymore. If you, I'll tag her channel below so that you can go and see what she's up to at the moment. But she had so many different things going on. Great British Baking Shows kind of is not a priority, but the way that she was going to do it this year was she assigned random numbers of stitches in 100 stitch increments to each contestant on the show. And the project that she stitched on was determined by who won Star Baker. And so she would put all of the stitches for one episode into that project. And the number of stitches that she was required to do would be based on who did what. So if anybody got a handshake, if you got first in technical, last in technical, Star Baker, or eliminated, depending on what stitch numbers she had assigned to those people would determine how many stitches she put in. And because of that, and because of who's been winning and like doing things in the episodes and the number assigned to them, I've been having to do a lot of stitches. And I'll go into specific numbers later, but I've been doing a lot of stitches, and ironically, a lot of stitches equals a lot of finishes. So yeah, we're gonna start with finishes, and I've actually had 5 since the last time I saw you, which is crazy. I never have that many finishes, but again, just because the way I've been stitching, there's been a lot of finishes recently. One of them I'm not gonna show you right now because it was a secret stitch. It's a gift for a family member. So once I have it fully finished, I'll record a clip of it and then I will put that in my video after it's been gifted to them so that you guys can see that fully finished job, or you can see it once it's been fully finished and there's no spoilers. Also, I apologize, I have cats. Come here. Oh, well, I have one who's trying to get up on my lap or trying to get attention. So I think it's nap time, so she's wanting some attention. This is Tonks. I think you've seen her. I think she was in my last video. I can't remember if it was her or Steel. I know you've seen one of them. Say hi. But yes, she is named after Nymphadora Tonks from Harry Potter. She does this sometimes where she'll want attention from me and then she'll like push away, but then there are other times where she'll want attention from me and then she'll like tuck her head and act like she's gonna go sleep. So let's see there we go. This position. I just gotta get her positioned right. So yeah, like I said, one of the finishes you're not gonna see today because it's a secret stitch. You will see it later. All right, this first one is March Sampler by Cottage Needleworks. I'll show you the pattern. I did not take these patterns out of plastic, so sorry. I'm gonna put it in front of my face because I'm trying to use a fancy mode on my camera, and if I don't cover my face, you won't be able to see it, so it won't focus. So there's that. So yeah, this is completely done. So this project I was stitching on from episode 2 of Great British Bake Off. Here's where it was before. Lean up a little bit. And now it's done. Ta-da! It's getting a little bit blown out from the window lighting. But I figured if I don't record now, I'm not gonna have time today because I'm gonna lose my light. So the lighting here is best earlier in the day, but I was at church, so because it is Sunday. So I'll get it close up for you so you can see it. Try to. I started this project on March 14th of 2022. So finally getting this one out of the whip pile. And then I finished this on October 9th of this year. This is stitched with all of the called for classic colorworks. And I'm gonna bring that closer so you can look at it nicer from way back there. And this is on 32 count Lugana in the color Peanut from Be Stitch Me. I will say in this lighting, though I don't feel like the white is ghosting as bad, but in person it does ghost a little bit. So I think Peanut I should have changed my mind as soon as I stitched the first one, but I didn't, and I kept going with it. And then I was like, well, I stitched the first one on Peanut Lugana, so I got to keep going with the rest of them. I think if you did Peanut in linen, this would show up. The white would show up better. You can still see it. It doesn't pop as much as I would probably want it to, but newer stitcher Jordan was like, oh, it'll be fine. And then by the time I had realized I probably should have switched, it was too late. So there's that one. And finish number 2. Oh, and I still managed to forget to pull this one out because I didn't see the product bag down in here. Okay, so my next finish is from the stitching that I did for the 4th episode of Great British Baking Show. And don't worry, I'm not gonna talk any specifics about the episode, so there won't be any spoilers here. I'm also super far behind because I'm not allowing myself to watch the next episode until I finish stitching for the previous episode. Sorry, I'm gonna have to zip zippers because apparently my cat is intrigued by all of my project bags right now. And now she's gonna try to get in my basket that has all of my projects in it. This is great. Chaos. All right. So this next project is my Acorns and Crows needle roll. Let's try that again. Acorns and Crows needle roll. This is by Chessie and me. This is from the first Quilter Station retreat that they held. I want to say back in 2021. Yeah, based on when this was started. I'm gonna see if I can show you this pattern without too much glare. It's this part right here. I do really want to stitch this part. And if you were here, if you watched previous episodes, you'll know that I started with this because the layout that we were given, or that is given in the pattern, laid it out where you could fit all these pieces on the one piece of linen that we were given with adequate margins. And this piece is underneath this. And so I was like, well, my brain doesn't do geometry well. So I was like, I'm not going to go try to figure out how to Tetris that together. So I'm just going to stitch the needle roll first, and then I'll stitch the part I really want to stitch. But now I'm going to need a little bit of a break because I stitched a lot of stitches on this. So here's where it was before. And here's where it is now. So it's done. So there's the big view of it. It's rolling like this because I eventually switched to stitching in hand because it doesn't, with my margins, it didn't really fit in a Q-snap very well. So that's why this side is rolling. But this is the front or the cover of the needle roll. And then this is the inside of the needle roll, which has like your 24, 26, 28, and then you would put your needles there. I think you can see everything without it trying to focus on me. There we go. Yeah, I think that's a little, yeah, the color's a little washed out. It's not quite as just brown. There's quite a bit of pink in this. And this is on 36 count linen, old stationery by Seraphim. And yeah, I started this on September 10th of 2021 during the retreat, and I finished this on October 23rd of 2025, so this year. Duh. And this is with the kit fabric and floss, and I believe all of the floss in this pattern is Weeks Dye Works. Yes, it's all Weeks Dye Works. That's what I thought. Okay. All right. Oh, I just realized I didn't tell you how many stitches I did on March sampler. Good grief. I make notes and then I don't read them. So I did 594 stitches on that project. And then I did 1,800 on Acorns and Crows. And you'll wonder, you'll probably be saying, well, you said you were doing a lot of stitching. Yeah, those don't really seem like super duper high numbers. We'll talk about why when we get into the challenge stitching. Okay. Next, I took a break from Great British Baking Show, and November 1st, I started my November monthly mini pillow from Primrose Cottage. So let me pull that pattern out for you. So this is what the booklet looks like. And then November is the turkeys right there. If it will focus on, not me, focus on the book. There we go. So yeah, November is this one right here with the little turkeys. All right. So started that on November 1st, and oh, I forgot I didn't make a card for this one. And then finished it on November 5th, I want to say. Yes, November 5th. And I just was like, you know what? We're just going to get this out and we're going to get it done because I want to do these once a month. And I don't want to get behind. And so I just paused, did that stitching, and I was like, then I'll go back to regularly scheduled programming. So there is no before because this was a start and a finish since my last episode. So let me wrangle this piece of fabric here. There we go. And that's what it looks like. It's so cute. I know it's really far away. But I wanted to give you like the full, and I know that the farther back you hold this, the truer the color is for the fabric. And that's actually pretty true for this brown. Maybe missing a little bit of the green, but it's pretty true. And then I'll give you the close up here without my face. So let me see here. Yeah, so that's what that looks like. I'm using all of the called for DMC, and those are French knots for the eyes. You could easily do beads if you wanted to, but I always like to try doing French knots because while I'm not super great at them, I'm only going to get better if I keep doing them. So I did do those. And yeah, this was super duper easy. Super, like, I shouldn't say easy. That's not, like, just lots of block stitching. There we go. And because of the way that the colors are laid out, you don't necessarily have to like do a little bit, cut, restart, do a little bit, cut, restart. You could easily, I carried on this and it was fine. And this is on a 32 count Cafe au lait by Fiber on a Whim, which I absolutely love. Please ignore my, if you saw them, please ignore my fraying ends. I need to zigzag stitch the edge of my fabric. But I love Fiber on a Whim fabric, as you've probably heard in previous videos. And this one, Affogato was my original favorite brown, but I'm starting to really love this brown because it's more of it's a cooler brown. Still has a little bit of green undertone, but it's definitely more on the cool side, which I'm more of a cool toned color person than a warm tone. I'm just attracted to those colors more, and I think it's because they look better with my skin coloring. So I tend to like them more. But yeah, that part, those are nice little rewarding little finishes. And then the last finish I have is Hoop There It Is by Heartstring Samplery. That one was stitching from episode 4 of the Great British Baking Show. And let me show you the pattern first, even though it is a finish. There's that. Good, not too much glare. Beautiful. And yeah, this is her series. It's like the words in the middle, which are a play off of usually like, I think it's some of them are 80s, 90s, and early 2000s songs. And all of these were originally released as a fundraiser. So here's where it was before. And here's the finish. Let me pull it back here actually. That's showing up a little bit more orange, I feel like, than it is in real life, but it is a very warm red, so that's pretty, it's not too inaccurate. So I'll get you up closer so you can see the detail here. There you go. So I started this on November 14th of 2022. And I finished it on November 14th, so just a couple days ago. This is stitched on a 32 count unnamed linen by Jody from Steel City Stitchers. And this is antique lace by Classic Colorworks. I picked that white for this because it has a little bit of variegation that pulls a little bit yellow. Sorry, my cat's come back and has now decided she wants attention and is trying to scratch me. So I felt like since it had a little bit of variegation that was a little bit more yellow, a little bit more warm toned, that it worked well for this fabric. So the other one, I know Who Let the Frogs Out is on green fabric, and I think the other one that she's released is called Baby Got Backstitch, and that one is on a dark gray. So I think the green that she used for Who Let the Frogs Out is more of a cool toned green, but I haven't looked at that pattern in a long time, so I could be wrong. But I'll have to look and see, because I'm going to try to do all of these on Jody fabric, because I do have quite a bit of Jody fabric, and Jody fabric that works. It's the right color for those patterns. So I will have to look and see what I've got. And also I'll probably pick long story short, I'll probably pick a different white to go on those when I start them, because those colors are a little bit more cool toned than this is. There's a mistake in here. I'm not going to point it out to you though. There's probably a couple different mistakes, but there was one that I noticed as I was finishing this that I was like, oh no. But I was like, I'm not fixing it. Nobody's going to see it except me, so it's fine. All right. And that was the last finish. I know I have to laugh because I told you guys when this channel started, you're not going to see finishes very often. And I'm pretty sure I know some of them have just been my monthly pillows, but I've had a finish in every single video. Now, and in this video, it's actual like substantial projects that I'm finishing, like things that are on my whip list that have been on my whip list for a while. And the fact that I've had that many in the past 6 weeks is crazy, because that usually never happens. So y'all got lucky this episode. Okay. And on that project, I stitched 3,499 stitches. That's what I had left. That also is me attempting to count the straight stitches and back stitching that's on there. Oh, I didn't show you this, because one of the cool effects that Beth from Heartstring Samplery put on there, is you actually, for these spools here, yes, that's right side up. You actually cross stitch underneath them, but then on top you do straight stitches to actually make them look like thread, like a spool of thread. But the cross stitches underneath help it to look full. So I thought that was a really cool technique. But yeah, that stitch count is me also attempting to try to count those straight stitches, so that could be slightly inaccurate. And also this is a paper pattern, so sometimes I get off when I'm trying to count those stitches. So, okay. The only start I had this month was my November monthly mini pillow. I thought about starting, or I was going to potentially have a different start, but I wasn't able to get all of the things for that yet. So once I have, so I'll start that project later and you'll hear about it when I get there. Okay. So on to challenge stitching and my whips. So we'll start with Great British Baking Show. So for episode 2, like I mentioned, that was March sampler. I was supposed to stitch 4,200 stitches in that project because of just with the numbers assigned to the people who were doing things. That's the total that I was supposed to stitch. I finished it, obviously, before I got to that many stitches. So I don't think I explained this in my last video, but I have decided that if I finish the project that I'm supposed to stitch on for that episode, I'm going to count that as I've finished my challenge stitching and I can move on. I'm not going to try to make up those stitches on a different project because this is already taking me forever. And it's probably going to take me into the first of the year because I think I just finished watching episode 6. So, and I'm pretty sure there are at least, I think there's 12 episodes. Yeah, because there's 12 contestants. So I think, oh, there might be 11 episodes. I haven't actually counted. But yeah, this is going to take me a while. So, especially because, and we'll talk about this later too, this next like month and a half with Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the activities that come with that, it's going to be crazy. So I'm not going to have as much stitching time. And so, and some of the projects that are getting called I'm not going to finish them, or some of the projects that are left on my list, I'm not going to finish them before I finish the stitching. And so, okay, sorry if you can hear her. There's a box down here that she likes to play with sometimes. And so hopefully that's not too annoying to anybody. So yeah, so ended up finishing that before I got the 4,200. Hey, leave it alone. So I then moved on to my next episode, which was Acorns and Crows was called. I was also supposed to do 4,200 stitches on that project, but again, finished it before I got to that number, so we called it good. Hey, no. Okay, episode 4, I was Hoop There It Is, and I was supposed to do 2,900 stitches on that one. And you'll notice that I actually did more than 2,900 stitches on that. So what happened was when I was done with the stitching for Hoop There It Is, I was trying to decide, okay, well, I wasn't going to be able to watch the next episode that night. And I didn't really have anything else that I needed to stitch on for any of my other challenges. So I was like, okay, well, what do I want to fill in? Because I know I have some projects that I want to get done before the end of the year. I have some things that are gifts, things like that. Well, I knew the secret stitch that I finished. I was like, well, I want to get this done before Christmas. So why don't I just go ahead and get some more progress on that? I'm really close to being done anyway. So maybe I can just get that finished. So I worked on it. I didn't get it finished before my husband and I sat down to watch the next episode. And when I watched the next episode, the person who got Star Baker for that episode was assigned this secret stitch. Sorry, everybody. She keeps messing with that box. Not right now. So I was like, well, shoot, now what do I do? Because I was supposed to do 3,200 stitches on that project, and there was nowhere near that many left. I think I did, when I finished it, I think I did a total of like 200 some stitches. So I was like, so what do I do? No. So what I decided to do was I just went back and finished Hoop There It Is, because when I finished the 2,900 that I was supposed to finish for that, or stitch for that project, all I had left was It Is and the straight stitching around on the border, or in the motifs around the edge. And I was like, I really don't want to take this into next year as a whip with so little stitching left on it, but I don't know that I'm gonna have time to necessarily finish it before the end of the year. So I was like, we're just gonna do that. We'll just use that to round out those extra stitches. It's nowhere near what I was assigned to stitch for that, but I was like, that way I'll get them both finished and that'll feel better. Stop it. So that's what I did. Then I got to quickly watch episode 6 because I got those stitches done really quickly. And that one, the project that was picked for that was Frogwarts Year 1, which is by the Black Needle Society. And I'm supposed to stitch 2,400 stitches on that project. So I will show you and talk about that progress. I'll show you that. Yeah, we'll talk about that progress next episode because I haven't finished the stitching for that yet. You are still going to see Frogwarts Year 1 though, because I'm also using it for Gridiron Grind, which is what we'll get into right now. So I had initially started Gridiron Grind with the plan that I was going to pull out my Harry Potter Stitch Along or Stitch Your Own Adventure, because I hadn't been getting a lot of progress on that project. And so I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm going to get some decent progress, get some movement. It'll be awesome. Well, as I was working on it, I realized, oh yeah, but I have this, like, and halfway through the year, I set these yearly stitch goals for each of my projects to try to get progress on them each year, and progressively more progress each year the longer they stay on my whip list. And I wanted to get I think 1,250 stitches on that project this year. Well, I actually got to that goal with the way that Gridiron Grind has been going. So I decided, well, since I've met my goal, I have other goals on other Harry Potter projects that I want to get completed. So why don't I swap Harry Potter Stitch Your Own Adventure out for one of my other Harry Potter projects that I have a goal set for, so that I can make some headway on those goals. So that's what I did. So first off is Harry Potter Stitch Your Own Adventure. Now, I don't have a cover for the photo for this one because this, as I've explained in previous videos, the way this pattern was released, or the way that it was designed, it's a Stitch Your Own Adventure, so everybody's just gonna look different. So there's no set cover photo. And so yeah, so I don't have one. And so the only way I can show you what I stitch is by showing you on the project, because all I have is a chart for it. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. And that is by Cunning Cross Stitch. Unfortunately, this pattern is no longer available. He leaves those stitch-alongs up for a few years and then takes them down, and so this one has been taken down. However, he does have quite a few other free stitch-alongs that are available. There's a Harry Potter, not a Harry Potter, let's load this one. There's a Lord of the Rings one that I think was last year's or the year before. That one's still up. I believe the Magic Kingdom one is still up, and that's another whip that I have. And he's done a few other ones recently that I haven't started, or that I don't plan to stitch, that are also still up on his website. So he still has a lot of great stuff up there, but this one's just not available. Okay, so yeah, Cunning Cross Stitch. Yes, I did all of that already. Okay, so here's where it was before. Let me get some more drink. And here's where it is now. Ta-da! Look at this blanket of fabric. All right, and then I'll come in close so I can show you what I did. So I did a total of 655 stitches on this. I'm not going to tell you the points that I needed to stitch for because I was going back and trying to do the math, and the math wasn't mathing. So I'm not sure if I just didn't record some things. I know I did all the stitching I was supposed to, but like my numbers don't add up. So I feel like I either forgot to write some stitching down, or there was some stitching from like last episode that I didn't include in my numbers. And so I just was like, I'm just going to give you the stitch numbers, but I'm not going to tell you what points what I'm supposed to stitch for. Just know that I'm stitching 10 points or 10 stitches per point that we score. And my team is the Chiefs. So mainly what I did with those 655 stitches is I finished off these little curly cues here. And then I went in and I started working on the base of the castle. So that's what this is here. This is going to be Hogwarts up here. So, and I think if I remember correctly, this base is pretty much the base that's in the chart. I am going to stitch an alternate castle that was designed by someone in the group, the Facebook group that he set up for, because he sets up a Facebook group for each of his stitch-alongs. I believe. No, sorry, that's wrong. He just has a Facebook group for Cunning Cross Stitch, like for just like a lot of other designers do. It's not for each individual stitch-along. Sorry, that's wrong. I will attempt to link that below if I can. And so I am doing the alternate castle that someone designed that's more in line with the way the castle looks in the movie. The one that he designed, while great, is very abstract and does not look like the castle that's in the movie. And so that's what I'm stitching, but the base that they use is the same. So that's what that is. But then yeah, I got all of this part in too. I don't think that was done yet when I came last time. So, and this is using all the called for DMC, and I believe this is, it's either 28 count or 32 count raw linen, but I don't know that for sure because I bought it from my LNS, and I was just getting back into cross stitch when I started this, and so I don't know, I didn't ask for the details of what she gave me, but there's that. Okay. Next up for Gridiron Grind, since I then decided, you know what, I'm going to switch to one of my other Harry Potter projects that I still have stitching I want to get done on before the end of the year. I ended up switching to Frogwarts Year 6 because I wanted to get to 50% by the end of the year for that project. So this is a project designed by the Black Needle Society. There's the pattern. Sorry, there we go. And like I've mentioned in previous videos, these are not available to the public yet outside of year 1. They will all be released once the Frogwarts retreat is done. And year 7 will happen next year, 2026. Year 8, which is going to be like our reunion year, will be in 2027. So most likely they will get released either in 2027 or in 2028. So this I stitched on for two different games, and I wanted to get it to 50% before I switched to my other project, Frogwarts Year 1, which I've already mentioned. So here's where it was before, and here's where it is now. It is blowing out just a little bit. That is pretty close. Actually, no, that is pretty close to the real color. Yeah. All right, I'll bring it in closer so you can see what I did here. So I'm gonna pretty much hold this in front of my face so that it stops trying to focus on me. So I worked on this potion bottle up here, and then the memory from, I should do this way so I can actually see what I'm doing. Yeah, this potion bottle, which is the one that comes from the pensive. Luna, who's down here, is pretty much done. I did the necklace. I did part of the hourglass. And then I started filling in this potion bottle down here. And then this is the Bezoar. And then the wine bottle, that Slughorn. The wine that they drink that he drinks with Ron and Harry. And then I also went in and did the locket, and then I worked on these potion bottles over here. It's like, hopefully that's focusing. There we go, because I was like, because I can't see. And what I did for this was I basically went through and, no, let me pull this back up here. I basically went in and just put my Q-snap kind of like, this part's pretty close to being done except for these. So I wanted to work on some of my bigger motifs over here. So I pretty much put my Q-snap like right here and was like, okay, what can I color complete in this area? And so that's what I did. So I just went from the colors that had the least amount of stitches in this area to the ones that had the most, and just kept going until I got to my stitches done. So I did a total of 696 stitches on this project. And like I said, I'm not going to tell you the scores because the math doesn't 100% math, but it's fine. It's fine. And that got me to 50.81% complete on this project. And my goal for all of my Frogwarts pieces is to try to have them all at 50% by the end of the year, which I'm close. I have 2 that aren't there yet, and 1 is actually finished. So I think if I can get all of them but 1 to 50%, then I'll be happy because I can make up. I've got one of them that's farther ahead than it needed to be, so that works. All right, and then the last project I worked on for Gridiron Grind was Frogwarts Year 1, and that was just for one game. Now, you're going to see some more stitching on here than what I did for Gridiron Grind because, like I said, I did start stitching on this for episode 6 of Great British Baking Show. Good grief, my brain. So let me show you what that pattern looks like. Oh my goodness. Sorry, now she's on top of the game calyx. So there's the pattern. Now this one is available in the vault. So you can go to the vault and get this project or this pattern if you would like. Yeah, so that's what that'll look like. Here's where it was before. Oh, and you're going to see this one in the Q-snap because I'm actively working on it, by the way. And here's where it is now. So yeah, so sorry. And I fold over my fabrics to protect my stitches. So, all right, I'll bring you a little closer. So basically what I've been working on is, I've been working on the night, good grief, I was like, what is this called? that Ron is writing. In case you're wondering, that's Ron's hair. And then I worked on the Nimbus 2000, and I've been working on the glasses. I think that's all I did. Yeah. But that night's a lot of stitches, and I don't know if you can tell in this lighting. You kind of can. So you see that slight difference between this darker color here and this like bluey purple. That's because this is Witching Hour and this is Black Raspberry Jam. It's more obvious in person, but it is a pretty cool effect because like the hooves are also in that color. Yeah, you're just not seeing it as well today. But there you go. That's a little bit better. But yeah, it's a pretty cool effect to differentiate between like the mane of the night. Give it a little bit more dimension. So yeah, so that's where this one's at. This is now, as of when I finished stitching it for Frogwart, or for Gridiron Grind, it was at 31.4%. It's farther than that now because I did some stitching on it last night. I want to say it's at like 33 something, but I can't remember off. It might be 30. Actually, no, I think it's 34% now. So yeah. This is with, oh, and I don't know that I said that with Frogwarts Year 6 and this one. These are all on called for colored linen and called for flosses with the etoile. So this is Picture This Plucked Vellum. Where'd it go? 32 count linen. And this is 32 count Jalapeno by Fiber on Whim. Yeah, all called for Classic Colorworks, Gentle Arts, and then the DMC etoile. Which, yeah, there's no etoile on this one, but I did work in some etoile on Year 6 in the, that was my cat, in the necklace and the locket. Those were the two spots where etoile got worked in. Okay. Whew. Sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained apparently, and I forgot how to do this. So that's all the stitching. The rest of this is going to be like stash acquisition and plans. So there we go. Just so you heads up. Oh, and now I don't know that I can show you this without completely making you, yeah, I'm not going to try. But she's now sitting in the basket where my products were sitting. Okay. So stash acquisition. So first thing, let me get my tablet pulled up though so I can show you some patterns that I got while I talk about this other stuff. So the first thing I got was my auto ship of A Year in the Woods Part 2 from Country Cottage. No, that's not right. Cottage Garden Samplings. There we go. And I'm getting this from Abby from Top Knot Stitcher. So this month, I think this was October's, yeah, a release was the turkey. Super pretty. Yeah, and I definitely think as these are getting released, she's kind of going in an opposite direction of how things were with your Part 1, because Part 1 was, or sorry, just it says number 2, not Part 2. Was very much like more colorful with the different colored fabrics, brighter, different colored flosses. Like the fox was orange, but then you had the bear, which was more brown. And the bat, the reindeer was also brown. I'm trying to think. Oh, but then you had like the weasel, which was definitely more like a black. I'm trying to think of the other animals that are in that one. The swans, which were definitely more colorful. Whereas this series is definitely going more neutral brown. To kind of go on. So I think definitely trying to cater more to people who maybe wanted a tamer version, which I think is really cool to see the differences and the contrast between those two different series. I'm definitely going to stitch both of them. It's just going to take me forever. So there's that. And then my next set of stash acquisition was all from Color and Cotton, because they did a gradient release of their flosses. I believe both of these packs were still available. And they also released a gradient set that matched one of these in fabrics, but that thing was really expensive, so I could not justify spending that much money on it. But I'll show you these in the packaging first, and then I'll get them out. But they released two different 12 skein color gradients, and they're rainbow gradients. So this one is called Candy Shop. that's pretty true, actually. Maybe not, maybe a little bit brighter than that, but pretty close. And then this one is called Renaissance Fair. Right? Yeah. There we go. Yeah, definitely a little bit brighter, but I'll take these out of the plastic so you can see. And they had made a fabric line to match, or fabric gradient set to match these. And they were all beautiful, but I was like, I can't spend that much money on fabric when I already have so much fabric. So that's what those look like outside of the package. Maybe what I should do. Hold that up like that, so that way, there we go. It's a little better. Although my greens are kind of getting lost, but there we go. Okay. So yeah, and these are all obviously named after different types of candy. I'm not going to go through and read all the different colors, but yeah, super bright and beautiful. And these are probably more my colors, but I just, the Renaissance Fair colors were also just so beautiful that I was like, I can't buy the candy shop and leave the Renaissance Fair fabrics or flosses. I can't do it. They're all so pretty. So that's what I did. Let me put these back in here, just so if my cat gets any ideas, she doesn't mess with them. And so this is what these look like. And of course, they're all named. And I think these are new colors too. They're not like, it's not a set that they... There we go. That's how we're gonna do this. So pretty. Yeah, and these are new colors. They're not things that are in their line normally that they then just put together. Like these are new dye. Like this, these are like this one has all of these colors are named after, like are themed around a Renaissance fair. So yeah, super pretty. Okay, put these back. And then I also got another one of their collections that they put together. So this one's called Golden Hour. I think you'll be able to read that if I can get it. Yeah, there we go. Maybe it will stop focusing on me. There it is. Okay. So this one I can go through because I think these are a part of their, yeah, these are a part of their regular line. So I'll read these off to you. But these are just different browns and oranges. Oh, I even sat in front of that game so that it wouldn't do that. Because there's a game called Sheriff of Nottingham behind me that has a picture of a dude's head on it. Or has a dude's head on it in the artwork. So I tried to sit in front of it so that it wouldn't focus on him, but then I moved my head too far and he came out. So yeah, that's what those look like. So just nice, pretty oranges, browns, reds. So we've got Harvest Time. There we go. Let's just do that so it focuses on my face. And Brass. Sweet Potato. Spiced Cider. And Toffee. Okay. So I think I have all of these collections now except for two of them. I'm missing Walking Trail and Capri Summer, and I'm waiting to order Walking Trail until they restock Capri Summer. But Capri Summer has been out of stock for forever, and I don't know when they're going to restock it. So I'll get those two eventually. Okay, and then the last, or technically not last, but the last thing I'm going to show you are some PDF patterns that I bought. So the first one I bought was this one from Sweet Wing Studio. It's called, I think it's called To Drink Coffee. There we go. But the sentiment, it says, I don't drink coffee to wake up. I wake up to drink coffee. Which, if you know the name of my channel, you recognize that is very true. I do like caffeine, but I also just love drinking coffee now. So I definitely wake up to drink coffee. Like, I look forward to drinking coffee in the morning because I like the way espresso tastes. So that was the first one I bought. And then I also bought this pattern called Mica 6. And it's, yeah, it's the scripture of Micah 6 with this beautiful pattern, like floral pattern on the side. And I thought that was really pretty. And I like it, the fact that it's on purple. I loved the color combination. And I also love that verse. So those were the first two I got. And then recently I purchased this one from Stitch's Lovers Shop. So this is called Glacier Bay National Park. I'm pretty sure Stitch's Lovers Shop is a Ukrainian designer. And I purchased this one because this is the national park that my husband and I went to on our Alaskan cruise during our honeymoon. So I love orcas too. We didn't see an orca while we were in Glacier Bay. We saw it, but we did see a grizzly bear swimming in the water. But I've stitched some of her national park pieces before, and like her patterns are laid out really nicely. Her colors are great. And I thought this would be a fun way to, outside of just the photos that we took, but another fun way to commemorate our trip and our honeymoon. So I bought that. And so this is also from Sweet Wing Studio. This is called, it's called In the Mountains. Yes, it's called In the Mountains. And this is what it looks like. It says, heaven is a little closer in the mountains. And I was made aware of this because Sweet Wing Studio was the featured designer at Thread the Needle Stitchery's Stitching in the Smokies retreat this past week. And I believe she released this pattern at that retreat. But then it was readily made available to the public after the retreat was over. So there wasn't a period of exclusivity except for like during the retreat itself. And you can actually go and purchase either a PDF or an actual paper pattern on their website. And I think it's a portion of the proceeds from that they get from the pattern are going to be donated to the United Cajun Navy, which is a nonprofit that's based out of Louisiana that responds to natural disasters predominantly in Louisiana, but also in surrounding areas. And I think they were helpful in the response efforts when there was the hurricane earlier this year in like the Tennessee, North Carolina area. So I think that's why the donations are going there, but I don't actually know that for sure. So I got those patterns. And then I also bought some DMC and some other things from Michael's because, oh, sorry. I think I just got a notification that the Chiefs game started. I was thinking that was this evening. So, I might have to go wrap this up so I can go watch that. So they were having 2 coupons, one for an online and one for in-store to get like regularly priced things discounted. So I was like, okay. So I got a plastic container to put my finishes in because right now they're all just folded and in a drawer, but I would really like to be able to iron them and then lay them out flat so that they don't get like permanent wrinkles in them until I get around to FFOing them. And then I bought some stuff for like some boards to finish some things on. And yeah, then the DMC that I needed to kit up a few projects. And yeah, that was it for stash acquisition. Plans, gonna continue with my Great British Baking Show challenge stitching and my gridiron grind stitching. I also joined my the Facebook group that I'm in, the messenger or chat group I'm in that's doing challenge stitching. I jumped back on that for November. I've just tweaked it in a way that it lines up with the rest of the challenge stitching I'm doing, so I'm not having to do multiple things, like they all work together. So that's nice. And yeah, so that's mainly my plans, is just to keep going with those until football season won't be done until next year. And then Great British Baking Show will get done whenever I get it done. Whenever I finally finish watching it. So, life updates. So we've had a lot going on over here. I don't know if you've noticed. You may not have noticed because I don't think you could see the ends of my hair in my previous video. But I got my hair cut yesterday, which was nice because it was getting quite long and getting in the way. It's very pretty, but it was getting in the way. So I finally got that cut. We had Halloween since the last video, and my husband and I went to a friend's house. It was like we dressed up, but it was pretty chill. I didn't have much of a costume really. I pretty much dressed in all black and I had a gray like flowy cardigan on with some dark lipstick and eyeliner and was like, I'm a Dementor and called it good. but it was also a way that I could like dress up for work but not actually look like unprofessional, so it worked out. And we've had quite a few weddings and some birthdays since the last video. I've been to 2 weddings since the last video, and we have 2 more coming up. And then we had one of my niece had a birthday, so lots of family and friend stuff going on. And then coming up, we're gonna have the holidays, which kind of leads into plans for the next video. So we've got Thanksgiving and we have Christmas. I sing in my Christmas concert for my choir, which actually at church, which is actually 3 concerts. And so there's going to be a lot of preparation for that. And so I do plan to be back in December. I just don't know when that's going to be, because the first week in December we have a wedding, and then the next weekend is the Christmas concerts. And then I think we have a weekend off, and then we have the holiday, then we have Christmas. So I'm not sure when I'll fit it in. I will definitely try to get one fit in before the end of December, but it's not going to be at the beginning of the month like I had been hoping to do my updates, which this video ended up not being in the beginning of the month because my husband is out of town, so I could easily fit it in while he was gone. And so I waited until he was to film it until he was gone. But in the future, I hope to have them at the beginning of the month, but December, I'm just not sure that's going to work out. So yeah, I will see you at some point in December. Hopefully it'll just depend on how crazy things are and how much time I have and when I can squeeze it in. So yeah, that's December's video. And then I definitely will be I plan to film a video earlier in January. But again, we also have a wedding the first weekend in January. So I don't know. It probably won't happen that weekend, but hopefully the weekend after that, I will be able to get a video done. And I plan to do like a standard update, but then I also plan to do another video as like an extra. I haven't decided if I want to do that as like a 2026 plans video or if I want to do another whip parade, because whip parades are a lot. I have a lot of whips, and I don't know that I necessarily need to do 2 whip parades. And so I was thinking about maybe I just do a mid-year whip parade every year, because that's what I did for my first video. And so the beginning of the year can just be, okay, here are my plans for 2026. If you have any opinions on if you would like to see 2 whip parades, so one in January, one in the middle of the year, or if you want it to just be a plans video in January, let me know. And I will definitely take that into consideration when I'm deciding what to do in January. So that's kind of the trajectory of the channel for the next couple of months. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I hope your stitching is prolific and your coffee is strong. See you all later.